We're ready to get started. We'll call to order this Board of Commissioners of Weber County, dated this 21st of March, Tuesday at 10 a.m. Commissioner Gibson is with us by phone. He is attending to county business and could not make this particular meeting. We will start today with an invocation by Mr. John Warren. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Matthew Larson, and the thought of the day will be by Commissioner Harvey. Mr. Warren.
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we ask your blessing on today's meetings, and also ask that you bless the men and women of this body and give them wisdom in conducting the business of the people of our county. We're thankful for them and for their willingness to serve in our self-government. We ask that the proceedings and the decisions made here today will be acceptable in thy sight. Lord, we are thankful for your goodness to us in all things, and especially that of grace towards us by Christ the Lord, and it is in his name I pray. Amen.
Please stand and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Thank you, Mr. Larson, for that. Commissioner Harvey, thought.
My thought today comes from a speech given in Alabama in 1963 by the Reverend Martin Luther King, who said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in the single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." My thought on that is to how true that is. It doesn't matter where you are or who you are. Everyone likes and deserves to be respected, no matter where they are or what they do or what they've done. And so I hope that all of us can remember that, no matter where we are or what we do. And so I thought that was something that caught my eye here recently.
Thank you. One of the things that I've learned from Commissioner Harvey is that to truly respect somebody is to listen to them. To take the time out of your life and your busy schedule to sit and listen to another individual and to garner what is truly important to them in order to move things forward. So I think respect is extremely important in our life. So thank you very much. We'll now move on to presentation. Mr. Scott Park will do our presentation of our 5-year fund balance forecast. Mr. Park.
Thank you, Commissioners. If you recall, a few years ago, the county instituted a policy to do a formal 5-year fund balance forecast. This was at the request of some bond rating agencies to have something a little more formal, just so that we can monitor and anticipate changes and watch for things that are coming up in the future. Specifically, this 5-year forecast is designed to give us an outlook beyond the regular annual budget cycle, to give us a longer-term perspective to the county's budgeting needs. And we specifically look at the level of services that we are providing at the current tax rate, and we make sure that that is sustainable over the next 5-year time frame. And if there's any issues that pop up or look like they're going to pop up, we try to address those proactively before it becomes a crisis. So we've done the 5-year forecast based off of the 2016 ending numbers, and based off of that, there is a low likelihood of needing a tax increase in the general fund, library fund, paramedic fund, or health fund within the next 5 years. Our municipal services fund, we are currently experiencing upward pressures in costs with law enforcement, with salaries and wages, and we have not revisited our fees over the last several years. And as a result, the cost of providing some of the services exceeds the amount of money we collect in revenue. And so with that forecast, over the next 5 years, we need to address that. We don't anticipate we're going to need a tax increase, but we do need to adjust some of our fees in order to make sure that we are sustainable going forward in the future. And I think we're going to address that a little later in the agenda today. So unless you have any specific questions, I'll present to you that 5-year forecast.
Commissioners.
I don't have any questions. I think it shows fiscal responsibility and taking action early so that we can absolutely minimize the impact on every person who lives in the county and more truly treat, boy, I think, oh, that's a tongue twister, those who are applying for respective services that they pay a fair share is all. But only, so the users are the ones that pay. That's always been. People who see movies pay. People who don't pay. It's just really simple.
I'm appreciative of the work that's been put into this. You summarized a 15-page report there in about 45 seconds. There's been a tremendous amount of work put into this forecasting. It's something that as a commission we started about 2 years ago, I think really moving forward and having a better understanding of where we're going. We went through a process of better understanding who we want to be, and this is part of that plan of how to get there. And really understanding where we are in the next 5 years as far as where our funds are, I think is extremely important. It helps us better manage. It helps us look for areas to be more efficient so we can reduce the likelihood of a tax increase. So I'm appreciative of that. And to those who may be viewing this live or into the future, this 15-page report is included in the agenda. So if you go online to Weber County and you pull up the commission meeting, you'll have a link to the agenda, and within the agenda there are links to this particular report and anything else that we may be reviewing today. So we encourage you to be informed by going to that agenda and pulling that information up and being able to review it. This particular report I think is very informative, so I would encourage you to look at that. So thank you, Mr. Park. Commissioner Gibson, any thoughts?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Park. Okay, we'll move into consent items. Item number 1, request for approval of warrants 1028 to 1029 and 415065 to 415287 in the amount of $1,336,413.72. Item number 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $329,113.77. Item number 3, request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on March 14th, 2017. Number 4, request from the Weber County Tax Review Committee for approval to grant a second extension for payment to delinquent taxes on parcel 11-089-0014. Those are the consent items. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I have none.
Mr. Hatch, would you like to
You bet.
enlighten us?
We had 24 purchase orders this week for $329,000. Just over 3/4 of that, or $257,000, was for our roads department purchasing chip and tack oil, and we all know that means road construction is ready to begin. That's great. 6% of that, or $20,000, is for IT, and they were purchasing PCs and monitor replacements for the sheriff's office. As far as our check run, we wrote 225 checks this week for $1.3 million. Just over a quarter of that amount, $355,000, was 911 dispatch building cost, construction cost for their expansion. 26%, or $342,000, was for the transfer station, and that was for disposal costs of waste. And 14%, or $192,000, was for our fleet department, which purchased several replacement vehicles for the sheriff's office. They rotate through, the fleet organization rotates through vehicles for various departments that need them, and they do a great job. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Hatch. Any questions? I'm open to a motion.
So move.
I have a motion to adopt the consent items as read. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to G, action items. Number 1, request for approval of a first reading of the ordinance of the County Commissioners of Weber County proposing amendments to the development site services. Mr. Charlie Ewert. Charlie.
Mr. Chairman, Commission, thank you very much. It's not a request for approval of the first reading. It is the first reading. So forgive me. Give me just a second. Let's get a presentation going on. I wanted to walk you through just a couple of slides on the front end just to kind of explain where we are with the current development review fees, where we could be and where staff are proposing us to be, and the differences between those. And in doing so, we'll take a brief look at the average cost of the same development review fees across 6 different counties that are within the local area. And before we start off, development review fees, just to be clear for the record, if you were to approach the planning department, the engineering department, surveying department, and ask for a particular process, a building permit, a subdivision, a rezone, there's a particular cost to that service being offered. So we'll talk about the cost that we currently charge versus the cost that it currently costs us or the taxpayer. The departments involved: planning, engineering, building, and surveying. And the methods we used, you got a 30-something page report. I'm not going to be able to brief it in 30 seconds. I apologize. But it essentially outlines the methods in great detail, but a couple of bullet points. What we did is we looked at the hourly burden of doing each of these development review processes. We broke every single application process we have down to its fundamental elements, assigned an hour time frame to it, and then multiplied that hour time frame by the cost of doing service. The hourly burden is the personnel costs, salary plus benefits, for the people most likely to do that review. And you see that in the second bullet point. The third bullet point, what the hourly burden does not equal is it doesn't equal our overhead expenses. It doesn't equal the lease space. It doesn't equal janitorial services, fleet operations, anything overhead related. When we look at development review fees, the state code says we cannot be revenue generators, just cost recovery. And so, but part of that cost recovery is lease space. It's janitorial service, all that kind of stuff. We didn't include any of the overhead into our calculations that you're about to see. If you want to think about including that, we're probably going to need to hire an outside financial firm to do that because it's much more broad. So just by way of making this easy, I put together these graphs, and I'll explain each bar on this, and then we'll fly through the rest of them. The very first bar you see is the existing fee that we charge for these relevant services: large subdivision, small subdivision, easement, right-of-way vacation, etc. The second bar you see is our cost to actually provide the service. And you see on the first one, large subdivision is about $2,500. And that $2,500 is the planning and engineering costs. I didn't calculate in the surveying costs or other costs that may be associated with that. The third cost, we could potentially charge $2,500 for a large subdivision. The third cost is the average of other counties in the area. That's Salt Lake County, Davis County, Utah County, Summit County, Box Elder County, and Morgan County, and the average of all of those put together. And just a quick caveat to that, planning review fees, we all tend to reinvent the wheel by jurisdiction. It's not consistent like building review fees or something like that. And so when we say a rezone in one county, we might not be saying the exact same thing. So apples to apples may not be perfect, but we did our best with the time that we had. This is the staff proposed fee, the purple bar. And what we did with that, it's all based on policy, financial policy, and that's going to be, in the end, what you guys are most comfortable with. What we took a look at is, number one, the sticker shock of what we're currently charging versus what we could be charging. We tried to balance that out, and then we tried to balance it against average fees from surrounding communities. You've got two different schools of thought. The one school of thought is that we could charge the full cost because the taxpayer shouldn't be supplementing development review fees. Or the second policy perspective there is that the services that we offer provides a benefit for the taxpayer. It also provides a benefit for the developer. And so maybe there's a shared cost that can go into that. So running through the rest of these very quickly, conditional use permit fees, that's what we currently charge. That's what we could charge. That's the average of what everyone else is charging. and then staff proposed fee for that. Design review, hillside variances, and appeals. What we are charging, what we could charge, what everyone else is charging, and what staff proposed fees are. You'll notice that for the most part, staff proposed fees come in under the average, or very close to the average. Land use fees. So we've got land use for building permits, land use that are just for general land use permits like sheds and barns and so forth, and rebuild letters. What you'll see a little bit of a difference here is the fees that we're proposing are marginal increases on this. And one of the reasons for that is, let's say you go and buy a shed at Home Depot, and it costs you $500. But the actual cost for us to determine whether or not you put it in the right place on your property costs $300. The chances of you even asking us whether or not you can do it are a lot less. And so we just want to make sure that some of these, all of these fees are accessible based on the kind of impact that the review process involves. And then rezones, what we are charging, what we could charge, what everyone else is charging, and then the proposal. So that's the basics of what you'll see in our fee proposal here. When I usually take ordinances to the process, I don't necessarily do the first reading, second reading, and so forth. Mr. Chairman, how would you like to approach this? What we could do is we can go straight to the ordinance proposal and just hit it line by line and make sure you're comfortable with that, go over questions, or if you feel comfortable that you've already reviewed it and you're good with it, we can stop here and I can sit down.
Commissioners, any preference?
I don't have a preference. I sit here and I see what you're trying to do. Excuse me. I see what you have done. Charlie, once again, very well prepared. I commend you for the work that's gone into this. It's terrific. I appreciate the thought that you've put in to make this fair and equitable. It's very good.
Thank you.
When was the last time that we had more of this type of comprehensive review of our fee schedule and made an adjustment? You had that information?
Not within the institutional memory of your current staff.
10 years?
A bit over 10 years.
Okay.
It could be 20.
Right.
I'm comfortable. We've spent a tremendous amount of time talking about the need for this. To be honest with you, I think that we've pushed you off a couple times. But I think it's gotten to the point right now when we look at the environment we're in with a couple other areas also that the commission has made adjustments in, that it's time for us to review this, and I'm comfortable with where we ended up, where we landed. And so I don't need at this point any more discussion unless there's something specific you want to touch on that maybe is a little more complicated than what we've talked about.
No, we've spent quite a bit of time. We started in, as you know, late November working on this. It was supposed to be a fairly simple update. As other departments started realizing what was happening, it kind of snowballed and turned into a little bit more of a comprehensive update. But we feel very comfortable with the analysis that went into it. If any of these fees are challenged, we think that we could defend them very easily.
And again, this entire report is 66 pages. And so it is a very comprehensive review and restructure of that fee schedule. So if there are no other comments or questions, hearing none, I'm open to a motion for the first reading of the ordinance.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Yes, Commissioner.
can you hear me?
I can.
I'm comfortable moving forward with the first reading on this, so I'll make a motion to do so.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance.
And I will second
And it's
that.
been seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, first reading has been approved. Thank you, Mr. Ewert.
Thank you.
Item number 2, request for approval of a cooperative agreement by and between Weber County, the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, and Weber Fire District to pay for a county fire warden. Mr. Scott Park.
All right, this contract is a revision to how we used to do things. Previously, the state was only allowed to contract with the county and not with the fire district, and so we had this arrangement where the fire district would bill the county would pay the fire district, and then the county would turn around and bill the state, and the state would then turn around and reimburse the county.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. There was sometimes a delay in that. And so what this contract does now, state is now allowed to contract directly with the fire district, and so we're basically removing ourselves as the middleman. The fire district will bill the county for any costs that the county is responsible for, and the fire district will bill the state for any costs the state is responsible for, and we won't be this intermediary trying to pass money back and forth between the state and the district. So that's all that the change really encompasses. The amount is very comparable to what it has been in the past, and it is set by state statute, so it's not really something that we get to play with.
A move of efficiency.
Yes, it will be nice not to be this intermediary handling the funds between the district and the state.
Less government. Thank you.
So unless there's any other questions, that's all that is in this contract.
Any further discussion or questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
with us as the intermediary here in years past, it really created some timing issues. This is a real step forward. I've had the opportunity to visit with the comptroller as well as the folks from Weber Fire and the state, and this is a good thing moving forward. This is where we need to be headed. So with that, I'll make a motion that we approve this contract.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Yes.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very much. Item number 3, request for approval of the final reading of the ordinance of the County Commissioners of Weber County establishing financial administration practices. Mr. Park.
All right, this is the second reading or final reading of this ordinance. This ordinance basically delegates the authority from the commission down to the clerk auditor's office and the treasurer's office to release funds basically whenever they go through the internal control process and it's determined that they are legitimate claims on county resources. All of these things have to be in accordance with the approved budget. They are routine expenditures such as utility payments, payroll-related expenses, supplies, materials. And the reason why we're doing this is really for efficiency's sake. Currently the practice is we go through a check run, we print the checks, and we lock the checks up in a safe for a long time until we have a commission meeting. When you guys approve the commission or approve the warrant runs, we go and mail those checks out. And so really this is just more for efficiency. We want to be able to pay people electronically. We want to be able to take advantage of early payment discounts. And so we feel that all the safeguards are still in place that we need to ensure the safety of county funds. And, you know, our primary responsibility is the safeguarding of county assets. And then secondly, we're looking for efficiencies. And I think this ordinance strikes a good balance between those two.
Thank you. Any questions?
Oh, it's awesome. Great work, Scott. Thank you.
I continue to be comfortable because it is still housed and retained within the auditor's office, who constitutionally is mandated to watch those funds. So creating the efficiency, keeping it in the department that I know is watching it makes me comfortable. I don't know about the other commissioners. So any other comments? I'm open for a motion if not.
Ordinance 7.
So move.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second to approve the final reading of ordinance number 7, establishing financial administration practices. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Gibson? Commissioner
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Evert?
Aye. Thank you very much. It passes. Item number 4, Mr. Duncan Olson, is request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Stirrin' Dirt for May Mania Demolition Derby to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center on May 3rd. Mr. Olson.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. So this contract is with the Demolition Derby that we host out at the Golden Spike in May. And really what it is we're trading our ticket service for a sponsorship worth about $4,500. And so that's what we're asking for today.
What prompted this? What prompted the sponsorship?
What prompted the sponsorship? We went off of our October contract that Mr. Golo had come to us with the county, and we're trying to go off of it from historical purposes.
Okay, I remember that now. I'm comfortable with that.
Is there a complimentary car for the commissioner so we can ram into each other too?
There probably should be something set up for that.
I just need a tricycle because it's.
I have a van.
If one of the
I sure
commissioners
hope
is
my
driving,
wife's not watching this.
if one of the commissioners is driving a car, I bet that would increase the number of participants.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you very much. Any further discussion or questions specific to Mr. Olson's contract? Okay, I'm open for a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract between Weber County and Stir and Dirt Mania for the demolition. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, passes. None opposed. Item number 5, request for approval of final reading of an ordinance amending the ordinance enacting the imposition and collection of tourism, recreation, culture, convention, and airport facility taxes. Mr. Dave Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you're aware, we had the first reading last week. I have not received any direction or input to change anything on these amendments. This simply allows the commission to expand our ordinance to include airport facilities, which is permitted by state law. And this is what I call the restaurant and lease vehicle taxes, separate from other tourism taxes. And the purpose of assisting airport facilities is not included with those other taxes, but it is included in this state title. So unless you have questions, you may proceed, and we will publish it and put it into effect.
Thank you. Thoughts, questions, or concerns?
No other than the ones we spoke of last week, David. Thank you for taking care of that.
Appreciative of the opportunity to be more flexible as we are continuing moving forward on creating a community that is more interactive and innovative. We will hopefully be able to expand that into other areas. And I'm appreciative of the work that Mr. Wilson's done in really identifying how to help us and assist us in doing that. So I'm extremely excited on what it opens up as far as our opportunities to really create a community that is a culture of creativity. That's all I have to say on that subject.
It also supports the other great things that are already happening within our Convention Visitors Bureau portfolio. It'll just be a nice complement all the way around.
It kind of completes the package, so to speak. So, okay, any further comments? Ordinance 8. All right, open to motion.
So move.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 8, amending the ordinance enacting the imposition and collection of tourism, recreation, culture, convention, and airport facility taxes. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Gibson,
Aye.
Aye.
Chair Ebert,
Aye. It passes. Thank you very much. Now is the time open for any public comment. If anybody here is from the public that wishes to make a comment, it is your time. Okay, can you please line up in a straight line? And, please don't wrap around the corner into the door.
I have a comment.
Okay, we do have a comment.
I'm especially grateful for the support that this team, not just within Weber County Commission office, but in each one of the departments. I'm encouraged by your professionalism, by your work, by your attitudes, by your support, and all that you do to help minimize the burden on all the individuals who live in the county by doing an efficient job. I appreciate it very much. There are so many great things happening within our county. And in a short time, we'll perpetuate those things and get those out even better than we have in the past. And so just keep up the good work. I just wanted all of you to know how much you're appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, well, no further public comment. We'll close public comment, and we're open for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved and seconded by Commissioner Gibson.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you for attending today. Have a great day.